Hi everyone, welcome back to Ria's collection. Today I am going to make these gorgeous looking, really soft and delicious hot cross buns. To make this, I have taken the measured amount of flour in a large bowl. And to this, I am going to add a few more ingredients. So here I have a bowl full of mixed dried fruits. I'm using cranberries, raisins, some blackcurrants, and a tiny bit of green tutti frutti just for a pop of color. We also need sugar, orange zest, cinnamon powder or ground cinnamon, ground allspice, some yeast, and some salt. So the first step is to combine all of these together. This is a very easy, no knead recipe, which means there's no need to knead the dough. How simple is that? I'm going to add in a little bit of baking powder. Even though we have yeast, adding baking powder makes it a very tender dough. Okay, I'm using a Danish whisk here to mix it all up. You could use a spatula or even a fork. I'm just combining all of the ingredients, and I'm especially looking to coat the dry fruit with all of that flour. Take your time to enjoy the wonderful smell that you can get when you mix it all up, especially from the orange zest and the spices. Looks like it's all well combined. And now it's time for the wet ingredients. So now let's get the wet ingredients ready. And for that, the first thing that we need is some milk. And I'm going to add in some butter. And I'm actually using a weighing scale to do that because I always prefer to use a weighing scale because I feel that it gives us consistent results each time. So if you're looking for perfect results every time you bake something, use a weighing scale. So I'm going to melt the butter and milk together. I'm just going to, use a microwave to warm it up just so that the butter is well combined with the milk, just like this. It took me about a minute and a half because my cup is also fairly thick. And now I'm adding some vanilla extract. And let's combine all that together. And to this, we're going to add an egg. So while you're doing that, make sure your milk is not too hot or that will cook the egg. So you want it to be nice and warm. Add the egg. Oops, there's a shell in there. So use the egg shell to pick out any, broken bits of shell in your liquid. It comes up really easily. So combine the milk and the egg mixture really well. I don't know, it's taking me a while today. Anyway, give it a good whisk. And after that, we're going to combine both the wet ingredients and dry ingredients together. So let's pour in all of that eggy milk mixture into the dry ingredients all at once, and using a whisk, a spoon, spatula, fork, whatever you have, combine it together. So you're looking to, mix it all up to form a nice soft dough. Keep mixing. You might think that the liquid is not enough, but as you continue to mix, you'll notice that the liquid is slowly getting absorbed by the dry ingredients and it's going to come together into a nice, soft, really fragrant dough. That's one of my favorite things to do while I bake or cook. It is to actually inhale all those aromas, and I feel it actually elevates my experience of making that dish. So now that's all combined. I would say almost combined. get the whisk out, and now let's get our hands ready to bring the dough fully together. As you can see, there are some dry bits of flour, but when you bring it all together with your hands, it's all going to get combined. You don't need extra liquid at all. I am not kneading here. I am just trying to combine both the wet and dry ingredients together. You might think that I'm actually pressing it down. It's just my way of, incorporating both the stuff together. That's all. There is no kneading involved here. This dough is very fragrant, and I really wish there's something like a smell-o-vision where you can actually smell and experience what the other person is making. So look at that lovely dough, and as you can see, it's really colorful. The spices have given it a nice brown hue, and the tutti frutti and all of the dry fruits, it's almost like little gems studded into that lovely soft dough. This is a slightly sticky, almost tacky dough. It doesn't really stick to your hands, but it is a little tacky, and that will give you amazing hot cross buns. Now I'm going to cover the dough and let it rise until doubled. So it's been about 1.5 hours, and let's see how the dough is doing. Ooh, it's nicely doubled, almost tripled in volume. It's not really evident because this bowl is huge. So I'm poking my finger in, and as you can see, the hole is not closing back on itself, which means we're good to go to the next step. So I'm going to gently deflate that dough by using my hands and pressing it down and moving it across like how you see it in the video. This is just to release all those gases. Now let's get the baking dish ready. I'm using a 9 by 13-inch ceramic pan here. You can use any baking dish of your choice. So instead of lining with the parchment paper, I am using some butter to grease the bottom, and with whatever remaining I have on my fingers, I'm going to smear it on the sides as well. I have used a tiny bit of butter, maybe about a tablespoon. If you want to skip the step, you can actually line it with the parchment paper, or even go forward without buttering or even lining with your parchment paper. Looks like the pan is nicely greased now. So let's set that aside and bring the dough back in. So we are right now going to divide this dough into 12 pieces. And today I am just going to use my bench scraper to divide this dough into 12 pieces. Dividing it in half first, and then cut each half again into halves. That way we get 4 chunks, and then further divide each chunk into 3. That way we get 12 pieces. If you want to be very precise on how much each of your hot cross bun is going to weigh, you can use a weighing scale for that. I'm eyeballing it today. And, as you roll it, you'll realize if one dough ball is slightly more bigger than the other one. If you notice that, you can pinch a little bit of excess dough from the bigger dough ball and give it to the smaller dough ball. So this is how I like to use my palm to shape the dough. Gently press it, roll it, and form a nice taut ball, which means the top becomes really tight and smooth. That way, when it bakes up, it's going to have a nice even top. So you can do it that way, or you can actually bring all the sides of the dough into the center like this, and then turn it over and then shape it into a ball. And I'm going to continue doing the same step with the remaining dough balls. So now that all the dough balls are ready and shaped, I'm going to transfer them into a prepared baking pan. And when I'm doing that, I'm leaving a small gap in between all of that dough balls. So I have put 4 dough balls down and 3 across. That way we can fit all of the 12 dough balls in that baking pan. I'm rearranging because I did feel that some of them weighed a tiny bit more than the others. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to now cover these dough balls with the same tea towel, and I'm going to set it aside for a second rise, and that's going to take about 45 minutes. So while that's happening, let's make a paste for drawing the crosses on the buns. So I'm mixing some all-purpose flour with some water into a nice thick paste of flowing consistency. So now that the paste is all well mixed, I'm going to transfer that into a Ziploc bag. You could also use a piping bag instead. So I am going to now check on the dough balls to see if they have risen, and they certainly have. They have doubled in size, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So the next step is to pipe the flour paste onto these dough balls. So like I mentioned earlier, I've transferred the flour paste into a Ziploc bag, and now I am going to cut the ends off to make a hole so that the flour paste can flow out freely. If you're using a piping bag, you could even use a nozzle to do the same. And let's start piping. So I am looking to make crosses across the top and then down. This is a very soft, free-flowing flour paste, and when you're doing this step, do so gently so that it flows out freely as you pipe it, that way filling all of the creases. So as you move along, you will come to the end of the row, and when you need to stop piping it, stop applying pressure on the bag and gently lift your hand away. That way, the flour paste will stop flowing and you will get super clean lines. You might feel tempted to drag the bag, but when you do that, the paste will also drag along with your hand, creating a mess. So stop it and then pull the bag away. Now I'm going to turn the pan and draw lines on this side as well. I am doing this in real time, and therefore you might feel that you're simply watching me pipe lines on these buns. But I find this process really soothing and calming. So while this is getting done, I also have my oven preheating. That way, it's ready for the buns as soon as the flour paste is fully piped on top. And we're going to bake these buns till they are golden brown on the top. So the piping is all done. Don't they look pretty? The contrast of colors is just amazing. So now that the oven is all ready to receive the buns, I'm going to transfer this pan into the oven and let it bake. So while the buns are being baked in the oven, I'm going to quickly mix up a glaze that can be brushed on top of the buns as soon as it comes out of the oven. So it just needs 2 ingredients: a good quality apricot jam or apricot preserves, and a tiny bit of water. There's another way of doing this. You can try melting this jam or preserves in the microwave oven, and if it loosens out fairly well, that's good enough. If it doesn't, you can add water like this and just mix it up in a cup or a bowl. I am not melting my jam here. I'm just mixing it up with some water to break down the jam or the preserves that I'm actually using. And I am just going to glaze the hot bun with this. I'm just showing you the consistency of my glaze. It should be freely flowing, making it easy for you to brush on the hot buns later. So that's my glaze. So the buns have been baked completely and they look perfect, golden brown in color. So if you're thinking, don't they look a little dry on the top? Just wait until they're glazed. It's going to bring a lot of extra flavor and shine on the top. So don't skip this step. Make sure you have the glaze ready as soon as the buns are out of the oven. So I'm using my silicone brush to brush them generously on top and on the sides. If you're not a big fan of apricot preserves, you could also use an orange marmalade for the same. Same method, everything remains the same. It's just that the preserves are different. We are huge fans of apricot preserves at home, especially the kids. So I am 100% sure they're going to enjoy these hot cross buns. So don't waste any of that glaze. Make sure it's completely brushed onto that hot cross buns. And I'm going to let the buns cool a tiny bit before I dig into these. So take a look at those shiny, hot cross buns. This is an excellent recipe to try at home. And I can't wait for our kids to come back home and dig into these. I'm sure they're going to love it. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I sincerely hope you try this recipe at home. Until next time.